Hi, good afternoon. I probably am the odd person out here because I only end up with HR when I start impromptu Nerf fights. So, I work with Stanford, I work with MIT, and I work with a lot of clients and CXOs around AI and machine learning. So I'm going to be the one who is going to talk about the robots part of it. Like I speak for bots and you guys speak for humans. AI and machine learning is changing the spectrum of the entire industry, and some of the things you are looking over here, from manufacturing to retail, healthcare and life sciences, travel and hospitality, financial services, energy, utilities, manufacturing, all of these things are getting impacted by AI and machine learning in a variety of different industries. So whenever you're talking to any CIOs, CXOs, their focus is around how can we apply AI and machine learning in some of these areas. And the way I think about it right now, if you think your industry does not have a use case for AI and machine learning, what you have is a lack of imagination. I know it's a strong statement, but today you see it happening everywhere, and including your industry, HR as well. But the key focus whenever we are thinking about AI, we are programmed to think about AGI, which is artificial general intelligence, which is the Terminator kind of thing. Here, what we are talking about when we talk about AI, we are talking about operations on steroids. So we are talking about tasks, automation, and applying these microprocesses optimization on a faster scale. And that's what AI is today, the automation on steroids. Having said that, most people have this thinking about AI is going to replace my job. And I think that's a fear in terms of it. It happens because people think that specific areas where humans can perform, machines can perform better. And we'll see shortly that that's not always the case. Well, whenever I've talked to the C-suite, the question is not always about replacing people, but more about how can we raise the cognitive capabilities. So let people do things which they do the best, let machines do the things which they do the best. So if you'll see, and some of the things which Marianne also attributed to in terms of AI, so whenever we talk about AI, it usually starts with a bot. Right? Everybody's like, so I'm going to make a bot, and I know AI now. And that is true, but there's a lot of things associated with that bot, which is helping people think and work on a higher cognitive plane. For instance, if you have to do automation around a variety of different areas, how would you achieve it? By applying intelligent process automation. So most of you probably have heard of this thing called RPA, or robotics process automation. Going towards the next step called intelligent process automation, or IPA, is a way of extracting the tasks out of the system automatically. So for instance, if a form has to go through 10 different steps before it gets approved, how can we learn those steps instead of me going and asking, hey, how do you process a form? So usually the robotics process automation starts from people explaining, going to SMEs and asking them information. The next generation of AI and machine learning is process learning, or process exploration, and process modeling, learning from the tasks and logs and the human behavior, and then applying processes on top of it. You'll see a lot of places. I recently have spoken to a large beverage company who shall remain unnamed, their HR conference, and talked to them about how they can apply it to one of these platforms, apply AI to one of these platforms, and how they can create a proof of concept around it. So some of the things which can easily be automated, and like I said, AI, the purpose of applying AI today is to automate and make humans' life easier, is how can a person can transfer an employee from a manager A to manager B without filling out 5,000 forms. So it's a long-running process, and I think people's time is not best spent in filling all this information out, but rather doing communication in an NLP way. NLP is TLA. Is that your acronym? Really? Like TLA is itself a TLA? That's recursive. So applying NLP, or natural language processing, to understand and learn from human language to say, hey, can you take a person who works for person A and then transfer it to person B? And the entire workflow is automated for you, and it happens behind the scenes. And if any approvals are needed, it comes to you in an interactive manner, and you can talk to the machine like you're talking to a human being or interacting with it. So that is the future of automation, and that's how we can apply AI and machine learning. And majority of these platforms around HR, including Workday, SAP SuccessFactors, support it via APIs, and you can build things around it. Some of the areas of interest for HR and where AI can be very beneficial is personalized employee experiences, cognitive support for decision making, such as vacation requests, sentiment analysis, team training, hiring process, figuring out who is leaving your company next, people analytics, bias removal, attrition watch. So bias removal is a very, very interesting topic. If I need to find out today what does a web developer look like? So I go on my LinkedIn profile, and it's going to give me a list of a Caucasian male, aged from 25 to 35, who lives in the Bay Area. But that's not the profile you want to look at. Like that's maybe it's the data is biased that way, but there's also a societal element for that. This is gender bias, this is race bias, this is demographic bias, and that exists in majority of our platforms today. From loan platforms to mortgages to financial services to HR, there's tons of platforms which actually show this bias. And the bias removal is one of the greatest areas. So we think about Terminators and those scary dogs from the robots chasing us. The biggest threat from AI is actually bias, the implicit bias from data coming to algorithms. So these are some of the areas where AI and machine learning applies to. So you have deep learning, predictive analytics, you have speech, and these are the areas where you can apply. One of the things from an HR perspective you can think about and take away from here is democratization of AI. How can you make your workforce more AI friendly? Like for them to be able to learn and apply AI. Not all of them are going to write algorithms, and not all of them are going to implement convolution neural networks in Python. But there is a way of applying and learning for democratization of AI within an organization. And I think this is a very key skill moving forward for your organization to be successful. Last but not least, what AI can and cannot do. So it can automate your recurrent tasks, it can identify patterns in relationships in data, and can help you. It can apply by making decision management systems, it can search large corpuses of data. I don't have time to show a demo, but it's really interesting on some of the platforms I'm working on. Questioning as a service. Think about having a large HR manual, which nobody reads, but it still wants to know questions from. But the questions typically can be asked just by keyword search. How about we can ask questions from the document by asking things like, how many vacation days are left, just by looking at the document. Algorithms nowadays are 87% accurate to actually do that, and human precision of that is 85%. So this is a giant leap for AI, and like I said, I speak for machines. It can help you learn. AI can help the learning capability that we talked about. What it cannot do is strategize, empathize, improvise, be creative, and have an aesthetic. So these are the things that AI cannot do, and that's where humans can do really well. So these are the things, let's use AI where it's really good, machine learning where it is really good, and let's try to avoid things which it cannot do, and let humans take those repetitive tasks away from them. Thank you very much.